Well, I don't have a list of participants.
Hi, Ted.
Yes.
Hello, welcome.
Hello.
That was
Okay.
The extras. Wait a minute.
You want copies, Kinder?
I'll take a look at it. If you have an extra, but if not, then don't worry about it.
Pass those around. Okay, we're live, we're recording. So let's see. Bear with me a moment. So thank you for the introduction, Councillor Shockley. Let's begin with doing introductions around the room, and then I'll do a little introduction and ask our town solicitor, Mr. D'Agostino, to kind of give a preface to kind of the status of where we're at with the formality / informality of this body as a charter review commission versus an ad hoc charter review committee. Okay. So my name is Ben Marchant. I'm the town manager. I've been with the town for 9 months. It feels like longer, but it's been a really good experience so far. You've got a really great staff, good people, good community, and I'm grateful to be here.
I'm Scott Cockley. I've been a resident of Coventry since 2012. Ran for state senate back in 2016, 2018, and like to be involved in politics and stuff like this. So glad to be here.
Hi, Ben Para, Andrew Para. I've retired from Coventry Fire District 32 years. Been a town member, a member of the town since 2001, I guess. So, been involved with politics almost as long. So this will be my third charter review committee I've been on.
Great, thank you.
Michael Stevens. I grew up in Coventry. Quick hiatus to Westwell for a few years. The high school, back to Coventry. It's been here since. So I consider myself a lifelong Coventry resident. I own multiple small businesses. That's what I do for a living now. And I'm just excited to be a part of the committee and see what I can do to help.
All right, welcome.
Scott Guthrie. I've been in town for 65 years. Been here since I was born. Served for 4 terms in the state legislature for District 28 and District 41, I think it was, back at the first time I ran. And was proud to get a few things done and brought back to the community up there. And I just wanted to be involved in this because it interests me and I'd like to help the town move forward.
I'm Bob Brennan. We moved into town 1979, thereabouts. Not been involved extensively in town politics since the kids got out of high school. Finally retired and actually have time in state to be able to perhaps get something accomplished or at least help out.
Wonderful.
My name is Brad Mayer. I've been in town since 2013. I ran for town council in the fire district, and I'm just looking to help the community in any way I can, and this opportunity presented itself, and so I want to serve on board on the committee.
Great, thank you. I'll go into a little bit more of an introduction about myself. I've been in town or city government since 1999 when I started as an intern for the mayor of San Diego. And that internship turned into a job at the front desk, the community relations and protocol. And that's where I discovered the wonders of local government and decided to make a career out of local government management. I went to school at Northern Illinois University for my master's in public administration, where I also interned at the village of Hoffman Estates. I thought a village was a small place, but it was a 50,000 population town. And I've learned that a town, city, village, whatever you want to call it, can be all different shapes and sizes. And the biggest distinguishing factor is your state law, which defines the municipality in your charter. And from there, I went on to St. Louis, Missouri, a suburb, city of Maryland Heights, as an assistant to a very experienced and tenured manager. And then I started as a city administrator for the city of Jerome, Idaho, population 11,000. Moved on to the city of Coquille, Oregon, population 3,800. And then I went to the Springottsbury Township, Pennsylvania, in York County, township of 27,000. And now I'm here. I did a short temporary interim stint in Manheim Township, Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, population 40,000, very similar in size to Coventry. But as a manager, I've developed an appreciation for the simplicity of government. And you're like, what simplicity? Exactly. I think when we can achieve simplicity, we can remove the burdens and costs on both taxpayers and local government staff to make things more pragmatic, simpler, easier. One of the quips that I heard long ago was mayors cut red ribbons, I cut red tape as a town manager. So that's my goal, is to reduce the red tape. But a lot of the red tape are there for a reason, because state or federal laws have imposed requirements and there are rules to follow, and we may not agree with them or understand them entirely, but that is the environment we work in. So my hopes for this initiative is to kind of take a fresh look and a holistic look at the charter in terms of how can we make this make more sense. There are a lot of ideals kind of in the charter that, as nice as they aren't, they're not being followed. They might not be entirely practical. There are many laws that get passed that are not enforceable. And so we want to kind of keep in mind, I don't mind having stuff in there because it makes a statement of the values of this community and what we stand for. But there's a lot of provisions in this charter that don't match the reality on the ground. So to the extent that we can clean up some of that stuff and have some more consistency, that'll add a lot of value to this community. I don't want to kind of bite off more than we can chew in the next 6 months or 5 months. The town council would like to have a recommendation from this body by May 23rd, just so that they can take whatever recommendations you may have to legal to review in the month of June, because they have a deadline of July to get it on the ballot for a November election. So we do have a time frame that if we want to see changes by this November, things have to happen in a certain time frame. I'll ask.
Just quickly, I know we're trying to keep the formalities of a commission, even though it's a committee, but can we have Mr. Tracy?
Oh, I'm
introduce
sorry.
himself?
Yes, I didn't mean to overlook you, Mr. Tracy. Please introduce yourself.
That's okay, no problem. Ted Tracy, I have been a Coventry resident since my family moved here in 1998. I graduated from Coventry High School in 2005 and was the student council president my senior year, and also was the Region 1, which is New England representative on back into politics basically since high school. So looking forward to working with y'all. So we got to go forward.
Excellent. Welcome aboard. Thank you. And can you hear us okay with the mic in the center of the room?
Yes, I can hear you clearly.
Great. Okay, Mr. DiAgostino, could you address the question that has been raised as to the legalities or legitimacy of this body working as an ad hoc committee versus a full commission, since we're short one member for the 9 according to the charter?
Sure. So I think as everybody's aware, the Town Charter Review Commission requires 9 members. We have less than 9 members. In order to overcome a technical objection to this body's work, we have noticed this and will continue to notice this as an ad hoc committee. Ad hoc meaning put together for a particular purpose. Doesn't change the goal, the focus of, or the work that this group is doing, but we're noticing it both as the Charter Review Commission and an ad hoc committee that's going to basically be doing Charter Review Commission work. And that will satisfy any potential challenges to the legitimacy of the commission. Someone might take the position that, well, anything you do, if it's less than 9 people as required by the charter, would then be in violation of the charter. We obviously have work to do. So we have a workaround, which is, I look at it as a very practical workaround. It's an ad hoc committee. The council is empowered to establish them from time to time. The good thing about this ad hoc committee is we actually have a blueprint, which is we're going to do exactly what the Charter Review Commission is tasked with doing under the charter. If anybody has any other questions, I'd be happy to address those.
So my question is basically what you're talking about. Is there an opinion that you wrote down and that says that we can do this? Because the first 4 letters of, the first 4 words in the amendment of the charter, according to the charter, is the council shall. So after shall is all the things that happen. So in my opinion, I don't think that we can really organize until we have a 9th member. I'm not sure if I could be on a committee that could be ruled, invalid at the end and do all that work. And I'm sure other people in the room wouldn't want to put a whole lot of work into something and then not be able to reach the goals that the manager has put forward.
Well, I can address the question. So in terms of a written opinion, our office has given the manager and the council an opinion that this can go forward as
Is it written down?
It's not written down, but it's still an opinion.
It should be written down, because if it gets challenged, we're going to need something that you wrote down to say that we are within, we will be a valid commission.
So I think that's a matter of opinion and timing. It's like one of those questions: are we going to cross that bridge before we get to it, or are we going to wait till we have to cross the bridge? We can have them issue a written opinion if it ever gets challenged, substantiating the reasons why we think this is okay now. But from a practical standpoint, an issue that I have with the way all the other town commissions and boards are structured, most of them are advisory bodies in nature, and they don't take any votes or make any binding decisions for the town. And to the extent that it's just advisory, there really isn't any repercussion or harm done as a result of the conversations that would come out of this group. So there isn't any remedy because there isn't any harm, and there isn't really anything to invalidate the process any more than the council could take public comment on suggestions from anyone in the community would be invalidated to change the charter or any ordinance thereof.
My concern is just that we'll be violating the charter just to get the charter going, the charter commission going. It's like we said, it's a workaround. It's not illegal, and if anyone takes issue with it, we can cross that bridge when we get there. But I think the bigger issue is there are shortcomings in the charter that need to be addressed, and
there's no time like the present to start working on it. And
Maybe
I
this is
do
one of them.
believe that, yes, maybe this is.
This
an
is
issue
one
to
of them. You
address.
go run from 7 to 9, then we can change.
I
it,
do
you know?
believe the town council is open to continuing to interview and fill that ninth position, at which point we go from ad hoc to formal. But essentially, the work doesn't change, the meetings don't change, and the process doesn't change.
Is there a reason we're only at 8 now? Is it just a lack of interest?
We didn't get another body to interview.
And the council is also open to the suggestions of this body. Everyone on the council has put forth their own suggestions as far as places you might want to look into or start. Those are simply suggestions. It's why I'm actually going to be leaving the meeting, only to make it so you don't feel that you can't discuss things about term limits and things about something that might impact my political career, quote unquote. But I would like to say, having been part of this during the last charter review, where all the rules changed for that as well, because we were able to meet via Zoom. We only had 3 months. A lot of things didn't fall within the realm of how it reads in the charter for us. But I can tell you, there was a little more estrogen in the room. I'm not going to lie to you. We were on Zoom, but there were a slightly more gender diverse group of people. But we also
Are you
had.
assuming my gender?
That's true.
Please
Apologize.
don't even go there.
Apologize to all of them.
Good Lord.
But we were able to have really great conversations, I think, with a really different minded group of people. A lot of respect for what others had to say. I can tell you that, people put forward things that it wouldn't have even occurred to me to wonder about. And some of them, by the end, I was voting, yeah, let's put it forward, because even though I don't necessarily feel it has a great impact on me, or it wasn't maybe the direction I would have come from, I feel comfortable letting the voters decide on that. And that, I think, is kind of the best mindset to come from on all of it. Another thing to really keep in mind is if it's against state or federal law, let's not put it into our charter, but instead look to take it out, so that we're not putting things in that we can't actually make an impact on, And then lastly, like I said, I really did enjoy being able to put forward to my fellow residents my thoughts and hear theirs. I thought it was great. The town council is open to your suggestions, and hope you're open to ours. And we plan on asking questions and seeing purpose, but really looking forward to hearing what you guys might be able to present and the impact it may really have during an election year, where a lot of the population of Coventry might come out and make a decision based on what you decided to put forth. So really appreciate your time and efforts. If you know a couple of people who might want to be on the charter review, I would love to make it a more formal commission. And from there, I'm going to say goodbye and let you guys make your decisions.
Has everyone been able to turn in their oath of office to the town clerk? If you haven't yet, you can certainly give it to me and I can get it to the clerk. Or give it to the clerk directly.
Just a quick question. As far as the procedural process goes, we make recommendations to the town council. And the town council then votes to put it on the ballot or whatnot. How does this committee make a decision? Do we have to vote to present to you, or can we all present our own ideas?
That's a really good question, and one I was discussing with a director about the Parks and Rec Commission about whether there can be dissenting views. And my preference would be to be inclusive of all ideas, since each person may bring a viewpoint that may not be shared in this room, but may be shared out in the community. And so all suggestions, I think we should aim at kind of having a tiered list of the things that you have consensus on, and then other issues of interest to particular members of the commission. And then the town council can discuss in terms of how they want to bring that forward and which items they feel are most appropriate at this time to put on the ballot. I don't imagine that everything you recommend will all go right onto the ballot. I do think there's going to be some winnowing down and refining by the town council and by legal opinion and review. But the goal is to be, let's put the best recommendations together that we can.
Perfect. Thank you. That makes sense.
All right, so I've shared a couple of documents. One is just the charter summary of what we're empowered to do by the charter and the marching orders. And then I made this printout of all of the input I've received from a few council members and a few staff members. I didn't really make it past chapter 2 of the charter because I've been so busy with school bonds and a bazillion other things. And I intended to go through the entire charter. I've never been through a charter review process during my tenure as a manager anywhere, but I love government and I find the structure and organization and rationality of government very interesting and very important. One of the things that I'm constantly hitting up against here in Rhode Island is that there's a number of things that I find to be dysfunctional by design, whether it's by state law or practice, whatever it is. One of the problems this town has is it has inadequate funding levels. And anywhere else I've been in the country, you solve that through a combination of, better management and efficiencies in the operation, but you also look to economic development. And Rhode Island's the first state where I found a disincentive to any form of economic development. There's no amount of economic development that you can put into Coventry that doesn't get undercut by the rollback of the tax cap. And instead of an economic development project bringing revenue to the town, it brings tax relief to the tax base. And so what that does is whatever development you have come in, the town has less revenues to serve the needs of that development. And therefore your level of service gets cut across the board. And there's no way to fix that without changing state law. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So when I talk about structural dysfunctions or inefficiencies, there are things that we can't solve here at the charter level, but there are problems that hopefully we can bring out and maybe keep a list of sidebar things that we might recommend as legislative initiatives or topics that we'd encourage the council to explore with the legislative delegation. Make sense? There's a few things in the dynamics between the town and the school department because the school department has governing legislation of the state, Title 16, where they say they don't have to report to the town council on certain things. And we're kind of in a battle right now between the charter and the Title 16 and what they want to do, what they don't want to do. And because it's between the charter and state law and their opinion, we're not making much progress. And I don't know that we can solve that either. But that aside, we will try to focus on what we can improve and consider. And so you have this list of ideas and suggestions to look into. But before we get into that, our goal tonight really is for you as a body to select a chairperson. The town staff is depleted and exhausted, and we can't afford anyone to stay another night for another meeting to be your minutes taker. So we'd like to have you appoint a secretary or nominate a secretary, just someone to take notes. I will take whatever notes this person takes and deliver them to the town clerk, and we can handle all of the agendas and minutes from meeting to meeting. But it doesn't have to be a big job because as far as this body is concerned, minutes are to record official actions. In a sense, you will never take an official action. There isn't anything to report other than we convened at 6 p.m. We adjourned at 7:03 and a discussion was had. So we don't have to have verbatim minutes of conversations and long-winded essays. We are going to be video recording these as a public meeting, and so you will have the recordings to go back to. You can certainly take notes and keep track of things for the purpose, but you just don't have to worry about those being part of minutes or whatever being recorded. Fair enough?
They can be considered our minutes, so to speak.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
Sure.
exactly.
So anyone can go back and review and see what was discussed and how we got to whatever conclusions we got to as a group. As the town manager, I'm a non-voting member, but since you're not picking votes, I'm your staff liaison is the best way to think of me. I have an interest, I have expertise, and I want to be a partner with you in developing and looking at the ideas and issues that I see so that we can make a better recommendation to the town council. If you have any concerns about my role, certainly don't hesitate to let me know. Let solicitor and let town council member know if you think I'm overstepping my bounds. I'm very concerned about boundaries and I'll be respectful of that. My goal isn't to push an agenda or have an opinion that I think has to happen, but to allow you to work through the ideas and consider things. All right, so how would you like to select the chair? Does anyone have any interest? We have a lot of experience around the table.
I'll make a motion that Scott be chair.
Do you accept the nomination?
Yes.
We won't force it on anyone. All right, we have a motion, a nomination and a second. Any other nominations for consideration? Hearing none, all in favor of Scott Guthrie is the chair.
All right. Is Ted in this?
I heard you, and I vote aye for that.
All right,
Okay.
thank you.
Who seconded that?
I did.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. All right, so anyone willing to occupy the position of secretary?
Oh, I don't mind doing that unless somebody wants it.
Thank you, Michael.
That's a thankless job, you know.
That's
I know.
But at least you got something
self-nomination.
to rely on.
Yeah, I'm good at typing stuff. Unless somebody else wants it. By all means.
I'll nominate you.
All right, we have a nomination.
I'll second it.
In a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Unanimous, thank you.
There's no sanity requirement for that position, right? Okay.
Because you're all here, it's all questionable.
You made the job seem so easy. I mean, I couldn't pass it up.
There you go, there you go. So I think that takes care of the minimum level of requirements that we need to accomplish tonight. The next step would be kind of setting a schedule that's agreeable to this body of how frequently you like to meet or how you'd like to kick this off. I certainly think it would be appropriate to give yourself some time to review the suggestions. The charter is online, but if it would be helpful, we could certainly provide printed copies for you to kind of make your own notes on and work with, so you don't have to go through a couple reams of paper yourself.
Last time I sat on the commission, I don't remember the charter being that big. Do you?
No, it's not that big.
Yeah.
This is the charter
It must be-
and,
might be
and
triple
ord-
state.
and the code. So the charter is this.
Yeah, I'd appreciate a copy of that.
Yeah, if we could get a copy of the charter to each of the members and also a copy of the minutes of the last 4 or 5 charter review commissions. That way, you know, we can look at some of the things that would change, why they would change, and whether they worked or didn't work, and it might make it easier to delete them from the charter.
Yeah, why reinvent the wheel if there's unfinished business or what people have already looked at?
Being new to this, that sounds very educational too. Like that.
Minutes and reports. So I'll send I'll separate the charter as a PDF file and make sure you all get it via email, but we'll also print it out and either get it to you here to pick up or at the next meeting or whatever. If that's acceptable.
If you send it to me as a PDF, you don't have to make a copy for me. I'll make it at home.
Okay.
Yeah, I can bring my laptop.
Everyone
just click
okay
it
with-
open.
Okay, great.
Yeah, that way.
And if I have it in Word, I get it in Word, because that way you can track changes or do whatever you want with it. I think the challenge is still gonna be, consolidating all the different changes and ideas into one place and.
One other request. The language that went on the ballot in the last 4 or 5 charter reviews, can we have that?
Sure.
That would be both the language of the change and then the explanation.
Of the minutes, yeah.
I'll pull whatever we have, whatever I can find.
The charter commission was like every 2 years. We meet.
Actually, it was required, I guess, 2 years after they enacted the home rule charter, which was in 1972. So they had a meeting to review the charter after 2 years, and then it was scheduled to be every 5 years after that,
Okay,
or, and they kept changing and going through the years,
yeah,
or as necessary or requested by the council law.
yeah, because I'm thinking you requested with the last 4 to 5, so that should bring us back to like 2010, 2012, right?
I don't know, because there may be 6 or 7 years between certain charter.
Yeah,
reviews.
so
I know there was a chunk there, it wasn't every other
It wasn't,
year.
yeah, so.
So we may not even have stuff that goes back that far, but we should. So
Yeah, so we'll see what they come up with. And we'll
Yeah,
figure it
I'll
out.
try to go back 3 or 4, and hopefully that covers enough of the history that
I
what
think so.
happened before that's ancient and not relevant, but.
well, some of the ancient stuff might be some of the stuff that you want to change. But
Well,
we'll see that as.
we
written
can
in the
attack that
charter.
threat.
Yeah, we go through and stuff.
So, okay, so I'll gather this information and get this to all of you. And when do you want to meet again? And do you want to? I don't have the scheduling of all the meetings that happen in the town and what rooms are available. So if you pick a regular meeting night, this room is typically available, but if it's not, then we can make accommodations to meet across the street at the annex or at the senior services or human services building next to the police station. We have other venues, so it might not always be here, but we'll make sure we're very clear on advertising it and letting you know.
We'll be streaming each one of our meetings?
That's the intention, only because the town council is embracing this
Yeah,
transparency. There's really nothing that we're discussing that should be embarrassing or secret or anything.
I just.
Yeah.
Like if we move to the senior center, is there a place for?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's,
Can I just add something?
Yeah.
Regarding that? So this is, it's for everybody in the room, but also for Mr. Tracy. Even though we're gonna be live streaming the meetings, if you're a member of the commission or the ad hoc committee, however you want to look at it, if you're a member of this group, you really should be present in person, because the Attorney General's office has made a determination that members of public bodies, and whether we're a commission or an ad hoc committee, you're all a member of the public body, advisory though it may be, cannot use electronic communication to circumvent the intent.
Thank you, and not to contradict you, but the governor's about to issue a new executive order going back to the way it was last
Okay.
June.
Okay.
So-
You're more in the know than I am. Okay.
With the COVID spiking right now, they are trying to reduce exposures to the extent possible. So that will allow like the town council members to participate in their meetings remotely again, but they're not going to get so specific as to disallow in-person meetings. It'll be either hybrid or however you want, or all virtual. But they said whatever the last version was that ran through, when I got here to July, that's what they're going back to, not the original one.
Okay.
So, yeah.
My question would be, is there any night or say we want to meet and, in the evenings or in the daytime or whatever, are there any times that you simply cannot be here? So that we could set a schedule around it. In other words, if you're free on every Wednesday night, that would be great, wouldn't it? But that may not be the case.
I mean, I'm divorced, so I mean, like for me, Mondays are okay. I just have to take my son to his piano lessons from 6:30 to 7. It kind of works it up. And then Thursdays, I have him, so I mean, he's a good kid. Headphones, so he could sit somewhere and
Just
do
take it
whatever.
with you.
Yeah, so not a big deal. So,
Remember,
huh?
you'd be a night.
You maybe it could be a night member. I don't know. It's under 18. So Monday nights is probably the only maybe difficult night, but everything else, which maybe after 6 o'clock,
I've got a
6:30.
council meeting twice a month on Monday nights,
Yeah.
so, yeah.
The only time it's bad for me is a Tuesday.
Okay.
Any other day, it doesn't matter.
Well,
Thursday,
Pretty open.
you're good.
Thursdays are the
Wednesday is
only
probably
day.
my best day of the week.
About Ted,
Wednesday is probably the best day of the week for me.
why don't
Any
we
objections to
plan on
Wednesday?
maybe, a few Wednesdays to get started, and then if we have to change
them
things,
around,
we can
yeah.
change things.
Yeah.
In anticipation of what's gonna happen with the governor's orders with the COVID stuff. So we may all be sitting at our computers doing it, so.
Yeah, Wednesdays work for me.
Yeah, I still have a preference for in-person because that just makes the most productive time. Virtual works fine because everyone's learned to work virtually, so and a hybrid is probably going to accommodate the variations in your schedules easily enough. So when do you read on Wednesdays? What's the first Wednesday you want to meet?
At what time?
My preference would be the first Wednesday after we have 9 people.
I don't know when that's gonna happen, and we've got a lot of work to do, so I prefer to keep this moving. I would suggest that, given that I have some material to get to you, and I don't know if I'll be able to get it to you by this Friday, so that making this next Wednesday maybe too soon, the Wednesday following, which would be the 19th.
The Wednesday after Martin Luther King Day.
Yeah. If we can plan to start on the 19th, hopefully that'll give me enough time to get you the information, enough time for you to review it. The council is meeting on the 10th, but I don't think they have anyone to interview this soon. So their next meeting's on the 24th, and they typically try to get the interviews in before the meeting starts. So we won't have anyone before the 24th, but on the 19th, it is a priority. And if you do have any recommendations for additional people, I think at least Mrs. Shockley would appreciate any female friends you have adding color to this body. But we'll go for the 19th, and from there, I'll let you take the lead on how much work you get done, how you want to organize the approach based on all this information.
Would that be 6 PM again, or?
Is 6:30 okay? Because 6,
It's fine with me.
all right, that gives you a little extra time to stuff, wiggle room. to get
Sure,
All the
yeah.
stuff. All right, cool. Thank you.
Okay. So 119 at 6:30 PM,
Here.
and we'll say here in this room for convenience.
And we can get used to all of the equipment and stuff.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
I've been on the other end, but I've never been in on this side of the.
Great.
If there's nothing else. Entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Okay,
Right.
we are adjourned.
We're adjourned. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
See you later, Ted. I'm signing off.